when you first start running, it doesn't matter how often you run, when you first start running, like the first 300, 400, 500 feet, first quarter mile, first half mile, it just sucks. It's never enjoyable. It takes half a mile. Just kicked the tripod. I should sit up. It takes half a mile. It takes half a mile. Are we underexposed a little too much? We might be. It takes like half a mile to get really running. Ollie, I'm stating how I feel right now. It's not going well. It takes like half a mile to really actually start to enjoy the run. But that first half mile, that's where I'm at. I think this is episode 8, 9, and I'm delaying getting in front of camera every day. I'm already fried. It's like I'm in the first few hundred feet of the run, and I'm just hating every stride. And I know a couple more videos, 1, 2, 3 more weeks, and I'm gonna start enjoying the process. I'm gonna get that momentum going. The YouTube metrics will start to encourage me. The comments will encourage me. The creativity will be flowing. There's a lot of cool stuff that comes once you get in rhythm. But getting in that rhythm, it's brutal. It is brutal. But I'm gonna take the concept of videos every single day and talk about attention. A lot of people are talking about personal brand right now, and there's a lot of strength to that. At some point, if I have a strong enough personal brand to discuss that, then I will get into videos around personal brand. But for now, I want to talk about attention, because one thing that this channel has had in certain points of time, and it will hopefully have again, it's attention. And I think that most business owners underestimate. You want to know what's funny? Side note, I'm on the way to the office today. I need to get better at making sure that I talk to my parents. I love my mom and I love my dad, and I just don't talk to them nearly as much as I would like. So today, got in the car, I drive to the office. I have about a half-hour drive to the office every single day. I love it. I normally watch a sermon on 2x speed, 1 hour sermon, 2x speed. I get through a sermon every single day on the way there, on the way back. The drive is through cornfield, middle of nowhere farmland. And so in the fall and in the spring, it's the most beautiful scenic drive. And I really do just sometimes I have just silence and solitude, and I just have prayer time in the car. It's an amazing drive. Today, I called my dad, and my dad and I are talking, and we're talking for about 20 minutes. And he asks me, am I going back to the office? And I say yes. And he says, why are you going back? You were gone for a couple months. Obviously, my dad does not watch my YouTube videos. And I talk about recording, and he says, Paul, calls me Paul J. I don't even know if I want to say that publicly, because, side note, at one point I debated getting the Instagram handle PJD. And a friend of mine told me, if you get the handle PJD, people will refer to you as PJD. Your Instagram handle, in a weird way, is almost how people tend to refer to you in real life. Hermosi, Imangaji, Paul Daly. That's why at first I had Paul J. Daly. And anyway, so my dad, who calls me Paul J or PJD, he's like, Paul J, are you an influencer? And I laughed, and I was like, not in the slightest. Influencers are blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm a business owner who uses content to create attention. And I don't think most business owners have the correct understanding of that, of how to create attention, of how to speak to the camera in general. So today, I just want to go through a macro principle that might help you with content, with ads, with whatever you're doing in your business to gather more attention. This is my scripting for YouTube, by the way. We have compressing timelines, which I've been saying for a while we're going to get to. Diesel versus gas, petrol versus diesel, which is the concept of running an organic business versus a paid ads business, and how can outrun both as if they were the same, which is a mistake I've made in the past and tons of people are making. That'll be a really good video that none of you will watch, because none of you guys will understand why it's important, but it is really important. Law of specificity. Ooh, this is gonna be a really good video. I remember that I wrote down this video name and I put it on sticky paper, but I forgot what the concept was, and I'm waiting for it to come back to me. But if the title or the principle will be the CMO of Christianity, I remember what it was. That's gonna be a really good video. AI replacement is a video that about AI replacing us in the workforce. If you guys want to steal these video concepts, by the way, and start making videos around them, feel free. AI replacing us in the workforce, and a biblical take on how that's not possible. Salt of the world. I think that's gonna be a really fun one. That's one of the core values we have in our company. A video about micro wins, adjustment of expectations, how to have better client success, higher LTV, etc. And a video on guarantees. Those are videos in queue. Today, we're gonna get into attention, gathering attention, and how most people do it wrong, how it could be technically different in a done with you versus do it yourself. We're gonna make this up on the fly. Oh man, I'm falling apart. 2 days in a row. This is bad. 2 days in a row, Red Bull. That's not where you want to be. I want to talk about the two different ways to create attention in business. There is the beginner way, which 95% of business owners do. It's probably what you do. And then there's the expert way, which is what I attempt to do. A lot of people do it better than I do, but a majority of people creating content do not do it this way. The beginner way of getting attention, grabbing attention, is by marketing some kind of solution. Guaranteed X result, reach X outcome. They're really, really superficial. They're very shallow. I don't think they grow brand well. There's a lot of different things we can talk about. But one of the principles we're going to talk about in diesel versus petrol, and I want to get into it now just for a smidge, is that it's different on organic than it is in paid. The way that you gather attention is completely different with agencies versus coaches, because the way you gather attention as a coach is that you show expertise-based information or knowledge, and then you put an offer on the back end. The way you gather attention as an agency is by showing people the actual service that you do. So in paid media, you would run some kind of outcome solution-centric ad, meaning you can buy X thing, or you can try to achieve Y result, or you can look at X guarantee. And because paid is always to some kind of cold audience, you always have the same general principle of how you structure the sales letter and the VSL. It's hook and promise, followed by social proof, followed by problem statement, followed by solutions, or methodology and the solutions. That is what a majority of business owners do to grab attention. Whether it's outbound DMs, whether it's ads, even content, a majority of business owners are trying to market some type of solution that they can offer, some kind of outcome that you can receive by working with them. And on one of the next videos, diesel versus petrol or something like that, I want to go more in depth on this, but that solution does not work well when you bring it to organic. And I see so many business owners who run direct response, who run ads, who might crush it with ads, try to get into content, and they just get hammered on content because they're running content like they're running ads. And it does not work that way for a lot of reasons. One of them being that you're just meeting people at a very different state, like actual psychological state, when they are researching on organic versus when they are scrolling or whatever they're doing when you hit them with paid media. Another is packaging. There's a video that I released a couple days ago called Why I Am Richer Than You. And the packaging of that is the hook. That is the pattern interrupt that you would see on paid media. But if I tried to continuously rehook in the video, I would have massive drop off because it would just be a really distasteful video. And I'm not saying that video is done incredibly well, but what I am trying to make or say is that the way that you create attention, the way that you engage attention on organic in content is very different than you would on paid media. With content, I almost follow this principle that comes from Dean Jackson called the Starbucks or the coffee shop rule, which is if you met me at a coffee shop, YouTube, you're really trying to speak to one person. I think there's a very core difference in that, right? So like when I create a YouTube video, my goal is for someone to feel like I'm talking to them. I've actually tried to even get better at saying you instead of you guys and stuff like that. I'm trying to make it feel like I'm talking to one person specifically, as if I'm meeting them in a coffee shop and I'm just casually talking, or if they're in my library and I'm just talking to them. It's actually, side note, when I was debating what kind of scenery to have on my YouTube, the reason that I don't have a desk is because a desk felt more corporate or more like we were having a business transaction, where when I took away the desk, it felt like I was just talking to you, like back and forth. If I was talking to you at a coffee shop, does it sound, seem, feel like I'm speaking to you one-on-one in a coffee shop? Or does it sound like I'm standing on a table speaking to the masses, trying to shout to everyone in the coffee shop some kind of offer? And that is what a majority of people creating content do. They create these hooks and they have really scripted out videos, but it doesn't actually feel like you're speaking to anybody. It doesn't feel like you're actually watching, as a consumer of the content, someone speak to you. It just feels like you're watching a marketing message, and no one ever wants to be sold to. That is one of the things that I've really found to be true over the last 5 years of working in the online info space. No one likes to be sold to. I saw a video of Daniel Dallin talking about personal brand, and one of the comments that he makes is that CTAs kill brand. I've been telling that to my clients for years. It's funny, I had a COO who is a very close friend of mine, and we worked together for a while, and he has a direct response background. And I would say that my original background in the space is direct response paid ads, but it definitely navigated to organic when I worked with Iman, when I worked with some other brands in the space. And he would always ask me to CTA. We need to have a CTA on Instagram. We need to have a CTA on the YouTube channel, etc. Whatever it is, there was always a need for a CTA, which is what a direct response guy does. Because in paid ads, if you were running direct response paid ads without a CTA, you'd be burning money. But in organic content, it works completely differently. And I do think I need to, at least for a second, separate short form content and long form content. Short form content is like in the middle between direct response and what I would call organic. The difference being with short form content, it's pretty much the same thing as an ad. It's just scrolling and pattern interrupt, versus with long form YouTube content, it's deliberately selecting on a package, almost like a Netflix series, like you're clicking on something that you want to engage with. The difference with short form is you have to pattern interrupt them as soon as they're scrolling. So you have to have some kind of like big hook right out of the gate when they're first watching the shorts, right? Which is this.
One of the biggest ways Satan destroys Christian men is through destroying their testosterone. Yet nobody in the...
On a short form piece of content, that's really probably a solid hook. It's gonna keep them around. But on long form content, you're like, something about it just doesn't sit nearly as well. And because of that difference, the hook on short form happens in the video, the hook on YouTube does not. It happens in the packaging. And then retention, we could get further into it, but you don't want to start a YouTube video like you would a VSL or some kind of ad on paid ads direct response. And everyone who's running a business almost always incorporates that paid ads mentality into organic, and then they're surprised when it doesn't work, and then they're like, YouTube can't make money. They go back to paid ads, and it's just so messy. I think the theme of season 2 is becoming twofold. Number one, God. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but God is a pretty prevalent theme in most of these videos for season 2. Number 2, the second theme is simplicity. The term kiss it, keep it stupid simple, or keep it stupid simple, or keep it simple stupid. I feel like I've heard both. I say keep it stupid simple. So stupidly simple that anyone can do it. And what I'm recognizing is that the coolest businesses that I study, the largest businesses in the space, everyone is just doing very simple things when they're running at a high level. And it's these businesses that are tiny, that are trying to make everything complex. And I'm saying that it's almost like when you start to walk in the path of Christianity, when you start to get closer to God, you start to recognize that there is sin in you that you never even would have considered to be sin, or you never even knew that was there until the light of God shines on it. And in the same way, in business, you don't recognize how complex or how complicated half the stuff you're doing is until you actually recognize what simplicity looks like. And I'm constantly, eagerly searching for more and more and more simplicity in business, and it makes me more and more and more and more money. It's really cool. And I love how Steve Jobs said it: simplicity is the ultimate form of elegance. And I'm probably paraphrasing that. Simplicity is not easy to come across. It's so difficult to make things look simple. Daniel Dallin, again, people feel effort, they follow ease, they follow simplicity, but they can feel the amount of work that goes into simplicity. I don't know if you guys can feel it. There's these videos do not come easily. There's a lot of effort that goes into making these look good. There's a lot of trial and tribulation and just a volume of talking to camera to make these feel more natural. These require a lot of effort, and I hope that it's felt. But I think you follow because of the ease of how easy it is to hopefully watch these videos. I think you follow for the simplicity that hopefully comes in these messages, to understand these messages. One of the concepts that I love seeing comments around, and people will message me sometimes and say this, it's that there are things that we'll talk about in these videos that might be points you've heard of before, but they're just framed differently in a way that finally really stuck, which means you're following for the ease of understanding the information that we're trying to discuss, which does not come easily. But I feel like you can feel, I hope that you can feel the effort, and you follow and watch these videos for the ease of understanding. The 5% of business owners that create content well, what I think they have recognized is that you can't take direct response and use the same kind of formula or schematic inside of content. It is a very different type of engine, hence diesel versus petrol, which I'll get into eventually. But content is a game of its own, and a much more lucrative game if you get good at it too. And I talked about short form and YouTube content. I'm talking about YouTube and content synonymously right now, short form being a little bit different. I think one of the main things to note about short form is I personally find it, and I say personally, I have found that my clients, and I've worked with hundreds of clients that run short form content. Short form content is just incredibly shallow, meaning you can watch a couple of my videos and start to feel like you know me. People don't feel like this on short form. If you watch short form with someone, you don't feel like you actually know who that person is at their core, right? But if you watch a lot of YouTube, you see the quirks, you see the imperfections, you see how they think. Like if you do it correctly, it should just be speaking to you over time. And realistically, let's think about dating. When you go on a date, what you're doing is you're just talking to someone back and forth, and you get to see who they are as you speak to them. But if you only saw someone on a stage over and over and over and over and over again, you wouldn't actually feel like there's any depth to that person. You would only know what their stage presence is like. But with short form content, people could watch hundreds of videos and still not feel like they know the person that's behind the camera, in front of the camera, behind the camera. You get the point. Short form content just doesn't have as much depth as long form content. And the way that you're speaking is really almost always for the masses, for the pattern interrupt, versus those one-on-one coffee shop conversations where I'm looking you in the eye, or I should be looking you in the eye. One of the problems I have in content is that I constantly am looking around because that's how my brain thinks. I said earlier that everyone is talking about personal brand, and everyone is now correlating organic content to having some kind of brand. I think that there's something that Iman has said multiple times that I really don't think most people understand. He gets paid to create attention to create leads for his business, versus most people paying to create attention for leads for their business. When you get good at creating attention organically, to be good at creating attention organically is one of the most valuable skill sets you can have in business. If you guys think about the largest business in whatever your industry is, almost every single time it's because they create content. It's not because they run ads. It's almost always because they create content. The content creators that gather attention effectively are almost always the category leaders of said category. It's an incredibly valuable skill set. Let's take personal brand aside, because if anything, that word is just becoming so stupid. I was gonna say who cares about personal brand, but there is importance to it. But focus on attention. Attention is the economy of this day and age. Everyone is fighting for attention. And you can either buy attention through ads, or you can get good at getting it for free and then eventually get paid for creating attention. But most of you guys are doing it wrong if you have that business background, because you're used to paid ads, you're used to direct response, you're used to having to hook people in, to create a sales argument. I understand it. You just can't bring it over to content. It doesn't work. You instantly start to push people off, disengage people, lose people. The point that I was supposed to get into in today's video is creating expert-based content. That's what the 5% of people that are doing content and business correctly do. They create content that shows their expertise, that shares wisdom. The way you gather attention as a coach is that you show expertise-based information or knowledge, and then you put an offer on the back end. The way you gather attention as an agency is by showing people the actual service that you do. And the solution that comes from it. Very different attention grabbing process. And then after you grab attention, which is a majority of what you need for both business models, then stuff starts to get more similar. It's just whether you do it further or not. Let's call it expertise-based content, where it's wisdom being shared through the camera, people seeing it, people appreciating it, people being able to implement the value without having to buy something. That's one of the biggest things, by the way. When I watch a lot of guys or help, one of the things I'll do with my clients is I'll look at their YouTube videos, I'll audit them, we go back and forth on it, I help them get better at the game of attention. But I'm saying this because I will constantly look at YouTube videos from newer clients that are direct response background, and there's just no value in the video. They are really, really good at whatever they're trying to do or teach, but they're not showing people that. They're just showing people, hey, you have a problem, I can solve it, pay me to solve it. And no one wants to watch YouTube to be sold. And there's a concept that you're going to start to hear me say more often. It's called value patterns. I'm coining this concept. I think it's my concept. Value patterns. Creating value patterns when people engage with your content. Meaning, realistically, after this video, let's call this a 15-ish minute video, I want you to think, wow, I got more out of that 15 minutes than I should have been able to get out of 15 minutes. If I had to go back and tell myself to watch this video, I would still say yes. So many business owners are creating YouTube videos where the value pattern is non-existent. It's a negative value pattern, meaning someone watches the YouTube video, and let's pretend they could go back in time and hypothetically tell themselves whether or not the YouTube video is worth it. If they say no, don't watch it, that is a sign or hypothetical that points to this video not being a good value pattern. I want people to want to watch more of my videos. If you don't know this, most people on YouTube don't subscribe after one video. They subscribe after multiple videos that they find value in. They could do it in one session. They could find a video, like the video, watch more videos, then subscribe, but very rarely does someone just subscribe on one video. It's different than Instagram Shorts. You might see an Instagram Short, like it, click follow, keep going on. That's one of the reasons I can get in Instagram Shorts and how to position those and such. It's a different lesson for a different time. But it all comes down to value patterns. You want to create patterns of value in how people invest time. Invest information is another value pattern. You want to create a pattern in economics, meaning, and this is where I call them ELOs, entry-level offers. You could look at what Hormozi's kind of coining them as attraction offers, I believe, but the low ticket attraction or entry-level offers, you want to create value patterns in that being worth it and reinforcing and doubling down as to why they would want to invest more. There's so many value patterns in the game of business. No one pays attention to the value patterns of attention. When people are first interfacing with your brand, would they call it worth it? Would they look at that value pattern and say, that's something I would tell my former self to rewatch? That's something that I feel I got more for than I should have, more for my time than I should have. You get the point. Versus what most business owners do, which is, hey, here's some big hook. Check out my case studies. Also, you have a problem. If you have a problem, this is what it would look like. Come buy my stuff if you want to solve it. Who would want to watch that? Who would want to engage with that? And then you're surprised when the content doesn't do well. Attention is the most important skill set you can have. I would say this age, but it's really always been the most important skill set that any business person can have. Attention is the only thing that has as much leverage as finance. Meaning, if you're going to get in a war with someone who has a lot more money than you, but you have a lot more attention than them, you have a fighting chance in that war. That is not common in business. It doesn't matter how good your operations are, or your sales, or your customer success, or any area of business when you're competing with someone in business who has more money than you, because they can just hire and delegate and bring that in. But attention is different. Attention has leverage unlike anything else in business. It's incredibly powerful. I don't think most business owners understand it. I'm going to end the video with a CTA. If you want my help understanding attention, you can message me D7 on Instagram at Paul Daly. If you're still watching this, I'm gonna maybe sprinkle in a little CTA here and there, even though I talked about today CTAs, co-brand, etc. If you're here at this point of the video, I'm not too worried about it. If not, no worries. Either way, I'll see you soon. Today is Thursday, posting Friday. I will see you on Monday, a couple days from now. Daily videos, Monday through Friday, season 2, Daily Bread, September something. Love you guys much. Until next time, happy hunting.